Hey, y'all, and welcome back to the Making Motherhood Magical podcast. I am your host, Jamie Mae Bright, and I am super excited to get started on today's episode. If you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, thank you. I appreciate you. Slowly, I am watching our numbers crawl up. And I'm excited to say that we are over 200 downloads at this point. So, for only this being the 11th episode, I am super proud of the community that we are building. And I just want to invite you to always reach out, always leave comments, always email me, whatever you may have questions about or concerns about. Or if you just want to share a story, I would love to share some of y'all's stories on here. So please feel free to send me absolutely anything. I am here for you, and I want you to feel like you are part of this magical community. So, this week's magic moment, let's just dive right in. As you can see behind me, if you are looking on the video, things look a little different because we found out week before last that we are moving. We are moving from a house that was built in 1902 to a house that was built in 1998. And our house now is about 900 square feet, and our new home is about 3,000 square feet. So the magic moment involves the manifestation of moving into this house. We as a family have been manifesting this for about the last 20 months. It is a friend of mine's house, and they moved out of state, and they are going to rent it to us for a little while, but while we work on getting a mortgage. But our plan is for this to be our forever home. And I knew the first time I stepped foot in that house, that house was the house I wanted to have the rest of my life in. I wanted it to be my forever home. I want my kids to grow up in it. I want my grandkids to grow up in it. I want to plant things that are permanent so that they come back every year. I just want us to grow there. And for this to come the week of Ostara is on Thursday. It is a brand new life for us. It is brand new energy. It is a brand new, experience and journey for us to move into this house. And it feels so freaking magical for it to be happening right now at Ostara, because spring is all about renewal and rebirth and life coming from death. And I feel like that is what this house symbolizes for us. It symbolizes a new beginning. And as I walked around the house the other day, it really started hitting me that I have not only been trying to manifest this house for the last 20 months, I have been manifesting this house since I was a teenager. This house, as I said, it was built in 1998. It has all the perks of the 90s. It is a fancy house for the 90s. It has a trash compactor. It has a landline phone and the toilet closet. If you are a 90s kid, you'll remember the trend in homemaking that they would build a closet for the toilet so that the toilet was separate from the rest of the bathroom. And we have a landline phone in it. And to me, that feels so freaking fancy. And I can remember growing up, we grew up in an affluent suburb of Fort Worth. And I remember having friends that had phones in their bathroom, that had trash compactors, and how fancy I thought they were. And now I am moving into one of those homes to raise my kids and help, whenever grandkids come along. We actually have one due very, very soon, last week of March. So we should be it's our first grandbaby, and he should be coming shortly. And we're super excited for him to come. But I have literally wanted this for my family since I was a teenager. And to move into a house that I have wanted since I was a teenager means a lot to me, because I feel like we've really come to a place in our lives that we're providing something for our children that they can be proud of. They can be excited to have their friends come over. We're not completely on top of each other like we have been the last 3 years. The last house we lived in was built in 1860. It was even smaller than this house. And we have done our time. We have gone through the trials of of doing that small living so that now we can expand into something bigger and greater. So that is my magic moment this week. I hope that you have some wonderful magic moments this week. And now I am going to draw our first card from the Seasons of the Witch Ostara deck. This is the last of the 8 decks. And I am so, so excited about it because it completed it. We have all of them now. They started with Samhain, then they went to Yule, and then they went to Imbolc. And anyway, they skipped Ostara. I was like, no, I need Ostara. I need Ostara. And now we finally have Ostara. And boy, is it gorgeous. It is this peach color. It's got hairs on it. Its foil edge is kind of like this really ethereal silver, but you can see peach and lavender and blue in it. It's so pretty. And so let's draw and see what our card is going to be for this week. I love these decks. I highly, highly recommend everyone get them. All right, let's see. This week, the first one we pulled is the Pink Moon. It says, your tongue will illuminate the spaces within your thoughts that need evolving. And it has a picture of a woman standing beneath a pink moon, and above her, it looks like there's a hare with antlers coming down this kind of staircase, but the staircase is actually made up of the different decks of the Wheel of the Year oracles. So it looks like a stairway of oracle decks going up to this hare that has an egg. So it's like a fertility symbol. So let's pull out the book and see what it has to say about the pink moon. Pink moon, pink moon. Almost there. There we go. Oh, that's not good either. One more. Here we go. The key words for the pink moon are inner reflection and establishing new neural pathways. Look closely. A lovely soul dances up a staircase of oracle decks. Do they look familiar? They are the Seasons of the Witch, of course, a revolutionary series, the likes of which had never been seen before. Was it ambitious? Maybe even improbable? Absolutely, but not impossible. No dream or goal is impossible for those who are willing to stay committed to bringing it to life. It may require a different way of thinking, a lot of hard work, changing some habits, convincing the non-believers, sacrificing many things, and a lot of reflection. But in the end, there isn't anything you can't do if you believe enough in yourself and your ideas. This card guides you to bring to illumination to your situation. Your thoughts and words are powerful and can support a journey of remarkable achievement, or they can become roadblocks that prevent you from reaching your fullest potential. You have the ability to reroute the streams of your consciousness, creating fresh, empowering thoughts and beliefs. Embrace the transformative practice of introspection. For these moments of quiet reflection, you will lay the foundation for profound evolution. This card encourages you to release the outdated patterns and beliefs that are depleting your confidence and growth. The only person who can ensure a positive solution to your question is you. So as we go into this Ostara season, I want you to start rerouting your brain patterns. Start thinking about what it is that you want and how you are going to get there, because as long as you want it bad enough and you keep working towards it, you are going to achieve what you want to achieve. We start our new astrological year on Thursday. Thursday is Ostara. Thursday is the equinox. Thursday is the first day of spring. Thursday is when the sun enters Aries. This is our new year. We are almost on our New Year's Eve. Wednesday is equivalent to our New Year's Eve in January. I stated in last week's episode how much I think right now is the new year. And so if you have not listened to that yet, go back and listen to last week's episode. It is called New Year Now. And that is what this is all about, embracing this spring Ostara energy and bringing it to life and setting your intentions and growing. And, now is the time to do those resolutions. If you are not succeeding in the resolutions you made in January, reset them now. Decide now what it is that you want to grow, because now is the season of growth and change. Think how much everything changes in the next 6 weeks. Outside is not even recognizable 6 weeks apart during this time of year because there's such rapid change and growth. So open up your mind, set your mind to things that you want to really achieve, and then take those steps to achieve it. That is what this pink moon card is all about. And that is what this season is all about. So that is what we are going to focus on this season, is how we can reset our minds to accepting what the universe has to offer us, the abundance the universe has for us. We have to open up to. So open up your mind and open up your heart, and let's make this season amazing. So let's get started on Ostara. What is Ostara? Ostara is the spring equinox. It holds deep spiritual and symbolic significance because it marks the moment when day and night are equal. It signifies balance, renewal, and rebirth. For pagans, this is a time of fertility, growth, and the return of life after the darkness of winter. It is tied to the ancient Germanic goddess Istra, also known as Ustra, and she is a goddess of fertility and renewal. And then it is also, as we said, the balance of light and dark, and it symbolizes new beginnings. So in this episode, we're going to talk about the histories and origins of Ostara, the symbols and traditions, some family-friendly ways to celebrate, and some spiritual and magical practices to really get into the energy of spring and of the equinox. So the history and origins. Pagan traditions surrounding the spring equinox are rooted in balance, renewal, fertility, and the changing of the seasons. Celebrated by various pagan groups, including Wiccans, Druids, and Norse pagans, this festival honors the awakening of the earth and the return of light and life after winter. Through rituals, feasts, nature offerings, and symbolic acts, pagans honor the cycle of life and embrace the renewing energy of spring. Istra is a Germanic goddess of spring, fertility, and dawn. She's associated with renewal, new life, and the return of light, which aligns with the themes of the spring equinox. According to medieval writings, Istra's name was used to describe the month of April when the feasts were held in her honor. So April actually comes from Istra also. The Easter Bunny actually has its roots in pagan fertility symbolism, particularly tied to Istra's sacred animal, the hare. Hares and rabbits have always been seen as symbols of fertility and abundance due to their rapid reproduction, making them a natural representation of spring's renewal. A popular legend suggests that Istra once transformed a bird into a hare, and the hare continued to lay eggs, remnant of its original form. These eggs became sacred symbols of fertility and rebirth, leading to traditions of decorating eggs and celebrating the hare as a mystical creature. Over time, as Christianity spread, these pagan customs merged with Easter traditions, eventually evolving into the Easter Bunny delivering eggs, a blend of ancient fertility myths and Christian resurrection themes. So that's kind of cool that the goddess, the Germanic goddess Istra, literally turned into the Easter Bunny. I think that's amazing. So many ancient cultures recognize the spring equinox as a time of renewal, fertility, and balance. Though they did not always have a named festival specifically for the equinox, they all had traditions honoring gods, goddesses, and natural cycles that aligned with this seasonal shift. The Norse people observed the changing seasons closely, celebrating the return of light with feasts, offerings, and rituals. They honored the goddess Freya. She was the goddess of fertility, love, and renewal. She was honored in early spring. And then so was the god Freyr, and he's the god of agriculture and prosperity. And he was celebrated as the fields began to thaw. So you have to think about the Norse people were like in Northern Europe mostly. And so what their season is doing is very different than what the Greeks were experiencing, because the Mediterranean has a much earlier spring than, say, Sweden. So the Norse people would offer grains and honey and mead, and they were given to these deities for a blessing on the crops and for fertility. You have to think how important fertility was back thousands of years ago. You wanted your cattle to survive, you wanted your sheep to survive, you wanted your children to survive, but you also wanted them to have babies. And so this is the time of year that people start breeding, animals start breeding, and you want to have a fertile life. And so by giving these offerings to the gods and goddesses, you were trying to ensure that you were going to have a fertile spring in all aspects of life. So the Celts were looking more England, Scotland, Ireland, that area. So we're a little bit more south, still pretty far north, but not near as north as like the upper echelons of where the Norse were. The Celts deeply revered nature and saw the equinox as a time of balance between the light and dark. And while Beltane, which is May 1st, and Imbolc, which is February 1st, were more prominent in their celebrations, the equinox was also observed in various ways. The equinox symbolized in the battle between the Oak King and the Holly King when the Oak King wins, because we're entering the light part of the year. After Thursday, every day we're going to gain a little bit more light until midsummer. So right now we have more light than we have darkness. And so that is when the Oak King wins over the Holly King, and now he is, in charge. So those were the two mythical figures representing summer and winter. The Celts also had different sacred sites that align with the equinox. There is a cairn in Loughcrew, Ireland, that is a passage tomb that aligns with the rising sun on the equinox and illuminates ancient carvings inside. So thousands of years ago, they aligned these cairns to illuminate these carvings on the equinox. So we know that it was important to the Celts. And then there's also Stonehenge, which is not too far outside of London, that's usually associated with solstices, but it also has a marker for the equinox, suggests that, the equinox was significant to Druids in the early Celts. They had fertility and earth rituals. So planting rituals and offerings of milk, honey, and grains were common. Eggs and hares were seen as symbols of fertility and the land's renewal. And they also later influenced modern Easter traditions, as we talked about with the Easter Bunny. Now, the ancient Greeks also celebrated seasonal changes, linking them to their gods and myths. They especially associated the spring equinox with Persephone. Persephone was the daughter of Demeter and the goddess of agriculture, and she was abducted by Hades and taken to the underworld. Each year at the equinox, Persephone returns to the earth, bringing spring's fertility and warmth. So as the sun returns, they associated that with Persephone returning from the underworld and bringing the world back to life. So that this has been celebrated for so long, because it's so important to modern ancient cultures, modern compared to like not cavemen, but ancient, because they are thousands and thousands of years old. The Greeks also had the Eleusinian Mysteries, which was a secret religious ceremony that honored Persephone's death, rebirth, and cycle of life. They also had festivals in honor of Dionysus, the god of wine, fertility, and rebirth, and they occurred in early spring. Greek people engaged in theater, feasting, and rituals celebrating renewal, pleasure, and wild nature. So that part kind of sounds a little bit more like Beltane. Beltane's all about pleasure and wild nature. But remember, down in the Mediterranean, they already have olives growing. They already have, I mean, the Mediterranean is already kicking ass at growing things by this time of year. Just like when I was in Texas, we started planting March 4th. I don't know why March 4th was it, but that's always when we started planting. Here, we don't start planting until after Mother's Day. And so it's a much shorter growing period, kind of like how the Norse people would have had a much shorter growing period than the Greeks. So keep that in mind with their celebrations, and what they used to celebrate would have reflected what was available to them at the time. All of these ancient celebrations do have a great influence on modern Eastern celebrations. The name Easter literally comes from the Germanic goddess Istra. We already talked about the Easter bunny as a symbol of fertility. And think about how when you have your Easter bunny come, is it more fun if the Easter bunny brings 10 eggs or if the Easter bunny brings 50 eggs? It's literally a representation of what we have in excess. You're not putting things inside of those eggs that are necessary for survival. You're putting candies and little toys and maybe, little trinkets, or I like to put things that are non-edible, like, little things of bubbles and little things of tattoos or whatever Oriental trading has to offer. But it is a symbol of abundance. We are taking something that we have in abundance and we're spreading it out and we're letting our kids find it. And it is literally a symbol of fertility, and how the more eggs we have, the more fertile of a life we're going to have. So Easter eggs have long been a symbol of life, rebirth, and fertility across many, many ancient cultures. And this tradition continued into Christianity, where the eggs became associated with Christ's resurrection and the empty tomb. Some other influences is the resurrection story and Persephone's return. Persephone's return from the underworld each spring signified rebirth, the rebirth of earth. And it's a concept that's similar to Jesus's resurrection, symboling a new spiritual life. So you see that Christianity absorbs the ancient traditions and merges them together to celebrate Christ and to literally celebrate what the pagans celebrated. And there's a lot of Christians that don't like to accept that they are doing pagan rituals, but in reality, almost every Christian celebration is based in some sort of pagan celebration, such as feasting and seasonal foods. Pagan feasts celebrated the return of abundance in spring with bread, honey, eggs, and fresh greens. And now we have Easter meals. We often include lamb, which is a Christian symbol. It's also, lambs were available at this time of year. A lot of lambs would have been born around Imbolc and now would be old enough to slaughter, to either be an offering or to be a feast for your family. And I remember growing up, we would have leg of lamb and mint jelly. Mint is also a symbol of abundance. And so when you think that they've been doing this for thousands of years, it kind of makes your Easter dinner feel a little different. It's traditional to use seasonal foods anciently and modernly. I know that we grew up, we would have new potatoes and fresh peas and deviled eggs. And those all reflect similar themes of fertility and renewal, because those were the vegetables. The potatoes were starting to be ready. The fresh peas were starting to be ready. So what we actually feast upon is very symbolic of fertility and renewal. Also, sunrise celebrations that many of the ancient cultures had, and equinox worship they go hand in hand. Many pagan sun worshiping traditions celebrated the spring equinox at sunrise, recognizing the longer days and the return of light. Now, think about it. We have Easter sunrise services. They continue this tradition, linking the rising sun with Christ's resurrection. So even the time of day that we celebrate Easter has been influenced by ancient traditions. So while Easter is primarily a Christian holiday, many of its customs, like eggs, rabbits, feasting, and sunrise services, stem from ancient pagan equinox traditions that honored fertility, balance, and rebirth. Over centuries, these practices were woven into Christian beliefs, creating a celebration that carries echoes of both ancient nature-based rituals and religious significance. So, symbolism and traditions, common symbols of Ostara. We already talked about eggs being fertility and potential. What can your egg grow into? We talked a little bit about rabbits and hares. They are all about abundance and new life. Think about how quickly rabbits reproduce and how quickly they make a lot of babies. Rabbits don't just have like 1 or 2 babies. They have like 5 or 7 babies. So they've always been seen as an abundant animal. We have not talked yet about flowers, but flowers are also a symbol of Ostara. They symbolize growth, beauty, and rebirth. Think about the flowers that are coming up right now: daffodils, tulips. That's really all that's coming up here. In warmer places, there's more things coming up. But flowers are definitely a symbol of new life, new birth, and beauty. So always keep them, in your Ostara celebrations. Have flowers. And remember, it is the balance of the light and the dark. So there can be a lot of symbolism in that also. Some family-friendly ways to celebrate Ostara. Go have a sunrise meditation. Now, this may not be something that you want to do with your children. This may be something you want to do on your own. I know I do not want to wake up my children before sunrise, but I love waking up before sunrise, getting my yoga mat, going down to the river, sitting there, watching the sun come up over the horizon and bring in the new day. It's something I plan on doing on Thursday. I plan on greeting the sun on Thursday for Ostara. So a sunrise meditation is a simple way to connect with nature and, really honor the sun coming back. Now, since you don't want to wake your kids up before sunrise, just take them on a nature walk. As you walk around, look at the trees, see how they're starting to bud. Look and see what plants are already starting to come out of the ground. Look at the world coming back to life after this period of hibernation of winter that we have been in. And as you walk around, talk to your kids about, what you see coming up and how it is new life coming right now. It is the energy of renewal is literally springing from the earth as we speak. Another simple way to celebrate Ostara with your family is to decorate an Ostara altar. Decorating an Ostara altar with kids is a wonderful way to celebrate the spring equinox in a fun, hands-on, and meaningful way. Since Ostara is about renewal, balance, fertility, and nature, you can include colorful, natural, and symbolic decorations that encourage creativity and connection with the season. So some nature-inspired decorations that you can put on your altar are flowers and fresh greens. Go pick some daffodils, go pick some tulips, or maybe if you live somewhere like Texas, you already have wildflowers coming up. We are not far from bluebonnet season, and if you are from Texas, you know that we are serious about bluebonnet season. I say every spring, I don't miss very much about Texas, but I do miss the wildflowers. They don't compare in Colorado at all to the wildflowers that we have in Texas. And I absolutely adore all of the wildflowers that spring up in March. And that is what we're dealing with right now. If you have not sat looking for rattlesnakes in a bed of bluebonnets, I don't even think that you're a Texan. So if you hear this in Texas, I want to see all of your bluebonnet pictures that you have forced your children to do, because we all freaking do this. But pick some of I'm not saying pick bluebonnet because it's illegal, but if you have some other wildflowers, pick them and put them on your altar. Put them in a little jar or in a small basket and, make a little tiny altar around those fresh flowers and greens that you can pick. You can also go on a nature walk and pick up leaves and moss and twigs and other natural items just to create a little centerpiece. You can also use seeds or seedlings. You can place a small potted plant or just actual seeds on the altar to represent and symbolize new growth. You can put DIY crafts and handmade decorations on your altar. You can decorate eggs and put them on your altar. You can hand make paper flowers, make them out of tissue paper or construction paper and place them around the altar. You can make a spring wreath using twigs, flowers, and ribbons and hang that near the altar. You can make some equinox sun art. You can draw or paint a bright sun to represent the balance of light and dark. When you're setting up your altar with your kids, you can also use animal symbols and figurines like bunnies and hares. Add a small bunny figurine or draw pictures of bunnies and hares as they represent fertility and the goddess Ostara. You can put birds and nests. You could place a little bird's nest, either real or fake, with the painted eggs to symbolize new life. You can also use butterflies and bees. You can cut them out of paper. Or I like to go to the Dollar Tree. They always have lots of little decorative things that are great on altars. Take your kids, let them each spend $5 on some butterflies and bunnies and eggs, and then you're done. Bring it home, make a little altar, and call it a day. You can also use candles or crystals. Make sure if you're using candles that the flame is in a safe place and that it is supervised. You don't want to lead your kids unsupervised with candles, but pick yellow and pink and green and purple, candles that you see coming up in spring, candles that you want to see coming up in spring. Or if you want to get battery operated ones, the Dollar Tree also usually has battery operated candles, and you can get the white ones and then use Sharpies and draw all over them and make them look like a stained glass window if you want to, and then turn them on and you have this beautiful spring Ostara candles, and you can use it every year. I like getting the white ones and coloring on them for each holiday so that I have a fire safe thing that I can use, but each holiday gets its own color scheme and its own design. So however you want to do it. You can also make a crystal grid on your altar. Use kid-friendly crystals like rose quartz, amethyst, or aventurine, and let the kids arrange them in a fun pattern. You'll be surprised how creative your kids will get with this. It's a lot of fun. And then you could also put edibles as offerings like fresh fruits or nuts. You could bake spring cookies and make them either shaped like a flower or shaped like an egg and place them on the altar. And then you can also just go real traditional and do a milk and honey offering in a small dish to offer fertility to the land. So creating an Ostara altar with kids can be a fun and magical way to celebrate the spring equinox. By using nature, crafts, and symbolism, children can connect with the changing seasons while embracing the joy and renewal and balance. Another family-friendly activity is planting seeds to symbolize personal growth. Seeds symbolize new growth and rebirth by representing potential renewal in the cycle of life. Planting seeds during Ostara is a ritual act of welcoming fresh beginnings as the seeds grow into plants, just as intentions and dreams take root and flourish. They also embody the balance of death and rebirth as a dormant seed awakens with the return of the sun in warmer days. So go get another Dollar Tree, great place to get seeds. They always have marigold seeds. They always have herb seeds. Those are great things to start right now. And as you plant them, plant your intentions with them so you have a physical representation of what you are growing this year. Let it be about growth. Let it be about abundance, and plant those seeds and see what grows in your life besides just those physical plants. You will see your spiritual life grow. You will see your physical life grow. You will see your mental life grow. So just put some intention into those seeds and do it together as a family. Your kids will be so excited as they see their seedling grow into a plant that by mid-June is producing flowers. And it's a really cool way to watch things grow metaphorically and physically. Egg dyeing. Everybody loves dyeing eggs. I challenge you to dye eggs with natural things this year. Use beets, use turmeric, use blueberries and blackberries, use spinach and like mustard greens, the greens that are coming up this time of year. Use coffee or tea. You can even use onion skins. You can use yellow onion skins. You can use purple onion skins. You can mix them together and see what that does. I will tell you that using natural dyes takes a lot longer for the egg to absorb that color. So you may want to plan on letting them set overnight. But just Google or YouTube dyeing eggs with natural, ingredients, and you will get tons of things explaining how to do it. I won't go into detail about it, but you can use a lot of different natural ingredients to dye eggs. You can also make Ostara wreaths with spring flowers. Also, you can look up on YouTube how to make fresh flower wreaths. You braid it together, basically. I personally would use carnations because they last a while. They dry really nicely. And to be honest, they're easy as fuck to braid together. They have really sturdy stems that work well braiding into wreaths. And then you can go in and add some seasonal flowers to that wreath base that you've made. So you have like carnations, and then maybe you want to add daffodils and tulips to it. Or, like I said, whatever's growing in your area, add to it. You can also create herbal sachets for renewal and balance. It's super easy. You just put some dried herbs and flowers inside of like a little muslin or cloth bag. And you can use herbs and flowers that symbolize fertility, renewal, and balance. Like lavender is great for peace and balance. Rosemary is great for protection and renewal. Chamomile is great for calming and relaxation. Dandelion is great for growth and abundance. Rose petals for love and beauty, and tulip petals for spring energy. And you can use these sachets. You can put them on your altar. You can hang them up in your home. You can even gift them to other people as a symbol of spring blessing. So you're taking some of what you have and sharing it with them so that they can take what they have and share with someone else. And that is all about how abundance works. You keep giving, the world will keep giving back to you. Another way also is feasting. I don't know anyone that doesn't have an Easter dinner, whether you're religious or not. Everybody has an Easter dinner, I think, for the most part. And you can have an Ostara dinner on Thursday if you want. You can have a mini feast if you feel so inclined. But when you make that feast, let your kids help with the cooking. Let your kids help with the prep work. I am telling you right now, since the beginning of being a mother, I have put off doing deviled eggs to the child that is most capable of doing it. So it started with my oldest, and about probably at age 10, she became in charge of making the deviled eggs. She very quickly passed it to her brother, and then he very quickly passed it to the middle daughter. But it became the kids' tradition because I hate peeling eggs, and I don't care if they massacre the eggs while they're pulling them out of the shells. I just hate doing it. So I love for someone else to be in charge of doing eggs. So while you may not have beautiful eggs and you may have little pieces of eggshell in your deviled eggs, to me, it is still worth it to let one of the kids be in charge. So now my youngest daughter is in charge of deviled eggs, and I love it. I love watching that tradition be theirs. Some other things that are great activities for kids to help with, let them peel carrots. Most kids can peel a carrot without getting hurt. Let them cut potatoes. Let them set the table. Teach them as they set the table to, have an attitude of gratitude. An attitude of gratitude. I like how that sounds. And as they set the table, make them think about What am I grateful for? I am grateful that I have a family. I am grateful that we have this meal. Whatever they're grateful for. They may be grateful for Minecraft. We don't get to choose what other people are grateful for. We just have to honor it. So let them think of things that they want to honor as they set the table. Another thing that's great to do in your feast celebrations is to use recipes that have been passed down or foods that your family has traditionally eaten. I always, as a child, wanted what it was a Jello salad, which we called green goo. And I always wanted green goo at Easter. And my nanny always made sure that I had green goo at Easter. Now, she also taught me how to make green goo when I was probably about 10 years old. And then I often was in charge of making the green goo since I was the one that wanted it so bad. But those things mean so much that now when I teach my kid how to make green goo, I know that it came from my nanny and that a part of my nanny is living in them when they make the green goo. And it it really does mean a lot to honor your ancestors in those ways. And something as simple as a Jello salad can bring me almost to tears because it does mean so much, because that is something that has been a part of my life for 40 plus years, and I want to share that with my kids. So if you don't have traditional recipes, think about what foods would have been traditionally available. A lot of people in the South have ham for Easter because that's when the hams would have been ready to use. They would have had smoked hams in the smokehouse, and that is why ham is a traditional food at Easter in the South. Up north, it is more traditional to have a leg of lamb, and we grew up having a leg of lamb with mint jelly, not knowing that mint is a symbol of abundance and prosperity. As a child, I didn't know that. I just knew that you ate leg of lamb with mint jelly. And now I understand why. They both symbolize this energy of Ostara, this energy of the spring renewal. So think about what would have been available. I mentioned earlier new potatoes, the little pink ones. They are a fresh food right now. Fresh peas are available right now. So go and see what would have been available to your ancestors and honor them in that way. You could also just make honey cakes or hot cross buns. Those are both very traditionally Easter or Ostara dishes. And think about using fresh dairy and egg-based dishes. Those are things that would have also been available this time of year. So as you make your feast, let your kids help. Let them be part of the prep, of the cooking, of the traditions, and then they will continue to pass those down as they have children. And isn't that really what it's all about? Just passing on a little piece of ourselves to the next generation. And it can be so simple as, like I said, just making a few dishes that are traditional to your family. If you don't have traditional dishes, make a new tradition. You can, the world is your oyster. Do whatever you want. But I do encourage you to think about the things that would have been seasonally available to where you are at. All right, that is the end part of fun things to do with your kids or family friendly activities. So let's talk about a few spiritual and magical practices. Simple spells and rituals. You can do candle magic for balance and renewal. You can do egg divination. Egg divination is really cool. So how you do egg divination, when you're dyeing your Easter eggs, whether you use natural dye or whether you use the plop plop fizz fizz dye, does not matter to me. Like I said, we're okays here, so whatever you do is okay with me. Excuse me. You know how whenever you boil your eggs before you dye them, there's usually some that are cracked and they kind of pooch out. Take those eggs and kind of hit them on the counter or table and get cracks all over them. So it kind of looks like a broken window. And then when you're done dyeing the rest of your eggs, take your eggs that you have crushed up. Don't crush it so that the shell falls off. You want the shell to stay on. And then put your egg in whatever color dye you choose with all those cracks and let it set. I like to let it set overnight, but I definitely recommend at least a couple of hours so you really get a deep, deep dye of those cracks. And then you take that egg out of the dye, you peel it, and then you look at what the dye did through the cracks and you scry it. You look and see if you can see any symbols of, symbols of Easter. You might see a rabbit, you might see a flower, you might see the wind. There's no wrong way to scry. Scrying is just what you see, what images you see in something. And I joke all the time about how I'll scry anything that sits still long enough. But like, I've always been one of those people that sees things in the clouds, that sees things in the textures of walls, like sees things in the water whenever, maybe you're at the river or at a pond or a lake or something. I've always been able to pick up things just right out of visuals of things. And so that's all egg divination is. You look and you see, what do the colors and the cracks reveal to you? Another simple speller ritual is setting intentions with seasonal flowers. When you set intentions with spring seasonal flowers, choose flowers that symbolize your goals or desires. For example, daffodils for new beginnings, violets for love and growth, or tulips for prosperity. Take these flowers and arrange them on your altar or maybe around a candle. As you arrange them, visualize your intentions blooming and growing just like the flowers. Speak your intention out loud or write it on a small piece of paper or both, and place that piece of paper with the flowers. Let the flowers serve as a reminder to nurture your goals throughout the season. So I'm big on speaking things out loud. I talked about that last week. The power of voice is amazing. Don't be afraid to speak your intentions out loud. It's a higher vibration when you speak it than when you think it. So speak it out loud. Set those intentions with your voice. But it's also helpful to write them down and put them with your little flowers so that you have a physical reminder of what it is that you are working towards. It's great to work with crystals and herbs and different kinds of incenses for Ostara. Crystals that are great for Ostara are rose quartz for love, citrine for abundance, amethyst for clarity. I am a firm believer in crystals do what we want them to do. We set the intention in our crystals. So pick whatever crystals remind you of spring. You might like adventuring because of the green, or you might like malachite because of the green. Or, there's not a wrong way to choose crystals. So choose what calls you and then make a crystal grid, or let your kids make a crystal grid. Different herbs that we talked about, lavender, chamomile, mint. Those are all great ones to use. And you can, sprinkle them on a plate with a candle, or, you can make sachets as we talked about. You can make incense out of them. Some incense blends that are great for springtime energy. These ones are designed to evoke feelings of renewal, growth, and balance during the Ostara season. And I will put in the link. I made like a Canva PDF document of these different blends so you can make your own incense. The first blend is called the Fresh Awakening blend. It involves linen balm, rosemary, lavender, and mint. The Floral Bloom blend is jasmine and rose petals and geranium, whatever flowers you might want to put in there. An earthy growth blend might include patchouli, sandalwood, cedarwood, and bergamot. The citrus herb blend involves orange peel, lemon zest, thyme, and basil. And what you do is you just mix those dried herbs and flowers together, or you can also use resin like frankincense to get them to kind of bond together for a longer lasting burn. But light the incense while focusing your intentions for new growth, balance, and fresh beginnings. So here are some ways to incorporate the energy of Ostara into your daily life. Have a mindful morning routine. Maybe get up and take a walk, or get up and meditate. Meditate while holding a crystal or a flower and being open to receive the universe's blessings. That is something we all need to work on. We want the universe to provide these things for us, but if we do not open up and let the universe give it to us, we're just making a roadblock for the abundance that the universe is trying to give us. But when you start your morning with a feeling of receiving, open to the universe's blessings, you are going to open up to what the universe is trying to give you. The universe is all about abundance. Look at what's blooming around you. Look at all this new growth. The universe wants that for you also, but you have to be receptive to it. If you cannot accept the gifts that the universe is trying to give you, it's going to stop trying to give you gifts because it's feeling resistance. And sometimes that is really, really challenging to really accept abundance. We talked about it a couple weeks ago about how you know, accepting gifts when other people try to give it to you, which is gratitude instead of with excuses or no, thank you, I don't need that. You know, if your friend at work offers to buy you a coffee or a Sonic drink or something like that, just say thank you. I love that. I appreciate it. And then return the favor. So, for example, last night was our kids' student-led conferences. And it's like a parent-teacher conference, except the student leads you through what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, what their goals are. And so it's a lot more meaningful to me because my kids are the ones that are leading this conference and this, you know, the teachers are there to back them up, but they're the ones that are really sharing what it is that they're studying, sharing how they feel about how they're doing. And I love it. Well, while they're doing these student-led conferences, they have a book fair going on. And I kind of forgot about the book fair. And at the beginning of the student-led conferences, we went and I spent my cash on school t-shirts because the kids wanted school t-shirts. So I spent my cash on that. And then whenever Clara had her student-led conference first, and Zeke had to sit there with me, and then Zeke had his, and Clara asked if she could go look at the book fair. And I was like, that's fine, go ahead. So me and Zeke did his student-led conference. She came back from the book fair with a book in her hand. And she's like, Mama, there was a dad there. And he asked me if I wanted that book and he paid for it. And I promised, you know, I didn't take it. This man bought it for us. I was like, well, I'm very grateful for that. I hope you said thank you. I hope you're very appreciative. And when we went with Zeke, after his was over, we went to the book fair, and I was, you know, planning on maybe buying a $3 to $5 book, nothing too extravagant. I'm more of a used book person. I'd rather go to the used bookstore and get 20 books for $10 than, you know, one book for $20. So he was looking around, and the same dad saw him, and I think he kind of heard me say, I already spent my cash on the t-shirt. And he offered to buy Zeke whatever book he wanted in that whole book fair. And I was like, oh, that's a mistake. He'll go pick a $30 book. And the dad said, I don't care if it's a $30 book or a $3 book. I want him to have whatever book he wants. And Zeke very quickly chose what book he wanted. He was very appreciative. And it literally brought me to tears that this man that I barely know offered that to my children. But you know what I did? I accepted it. I accepted it humbly and I accepted it graciously, because when you don't open up yourself to the little gifts that the universe is giving to you, it stops sending you little gifts. So last night was a magical moment because it was a little gift from just, you know, another dad at school that had the extra money to spend on my kids. And I am deeply, deeply appreciative of, you know, the $15 he spent on my kids because it made their night. And I am grateful for that. So make sure that you are open to the blessings of the universe, big and small, and more will come. Another way to incorporate the energy of Ostara into your daily life is by practicing gratitude and embracing change. Sometimes these are really challenging things to do. Some days it's hard to think of one thing that you're grateful for, but I encourage you to think of 3 to 5 things every day that you are grateful for and write it down in a journal, whether it's in the morning or in the evening. It doesn't matter when you write this down. It's going to stay with you. So if you do it in the morning, it's going to stay with you during the day. If you do a reflective gratitude journal at night, it's going to stay with you at night while you're dreaming and while you're manifesting in your dreams. So find little things that you're grateful for. It can be as simple as I am grateful for springtime birds, or I am grateful for today not being so windy as it was yesterday, which is not true. It's actually like hurricane force winds outside right now, but I will be thankful when it is not as windy as it is today. So think about what you're embracing as far as change goes and be grateful for that change. Now is such a rapid time of change and growth that the next 6 weeks, you can really manifest a lot of different stuff into existence because it's such an accelerated time of growth right now. So embrace that change and show gratitude regardless of how you show it. Another thing to incorporate the Ostara energy into your life is finding balance. Find that balance between work and home. Find that balance between the things you have to do and the things you want to do. And make sure that you're spending that time with your family, being present and open and available to them when that is their time. Leave work at work. Bring home an open heart to share with your family. And really embrace the balance that we are experiencing right now with the equinox. I overall challenge each one of you to set an Ostara intention. I want you to speak it out loud. I want you to write it down. I even want you to share it. You can share it in the comments. You can share it in an email, however you want to share it. You can just share it with your friends and family. But let it be known what your intention for Ostara is so that you can really set this season of change up for changing for the better, getting that change in life that you need to take that next step towards what you want. So we talked about the history and origins of Ostara. We talked about symbols and traditions. We talked about family-friendly ways to celebrate, and then we talked about a few spiritual and magical practices. The importance right now of welcoming change and balance is to know that we are entering a season of growth, and sometimes growth is hard. And just like tending a garden is constant and vigilant work, especially at the beginning, so is personal growth. So focus on being mindful and really, really open up to receive abundance in this season. So for the next 6 weeks, really, really focus on growth and abundance because that is what the universe is dishing out right now. So I am going to share an Ostara poem with you. I will also make a link for it in the show notes, but I am calling this an ode to Ostara. Awake, awake, the dawn is bright. The dark retreats, the world in light. The whispering winds, the budding trees sing songs of spring upon the breeze. The frozen earth, now soft and wide, welcomes seeds in joyful stride. The rivers dance, the blossoms rise beneath the warmth of golden skies. The hare leaps forth in merry play. The robin sings to greet the day. The painted egg, the flower's hue, a promise bright, a life anew. O maiden fair of morning's grace, with flowers woven in thy face, bless the fields, the hearth, the heart, with love and light, a brand new start. So lift your voice and raise your cheer, for balance reigns both far and near. A time of hope, a time of glee, Ostara's gift, wild and free. Blessed Ostara to each and every one of you. I hope that you embrace this energy and really, really run with it because it is such a time of renewal, rebirth, and growth. So thank you so much for listening today. Please like and subscribe if you don't already. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We're everywhere. please like and subscribe everywhere. It really helps get the podcast out there. I would love some more reviews. Reviews help boost your algorithm. So please share with your family and friends. And know that next week's episode, we are going to start a 4-week series on the lunar cycle. So we will be starting with the new moon next week, which will be the new moon in Aries. So be ready to set some intentions. Be ready for the growth and abundance that's coming for you this Ostara season. And until next week, moms, just keep on making magic. You've got this. I'm here for you. The universe is here for you. Have a great week. Until next week, many blessings and much abundance.